Good evening, good evening, good evening. A great show is lined up for you this evening. I'm very excited about this because this is kind of linked to a childhood passion of mine. So I'm really great. It's going to be really great for me to explore it and explore it for you, our audience, this evening. So I do want to, however, address the technicals of last session we had here. So I actually do want to play, I think all is well, and I want to play you the trailer from the ICU documentary that we spoke about last week. So I want to start right there, and then we'll get right into it with the news. There are some updates and things I think you should know, so I think it would be important to do the news. But I want to get started with this because it's, as you know, it's going to be the 1st of May, so it's going to be very, very exciting, and I hope to be there myself. And so yeah, and loads of wonderful things, conversations are going to come out of this. So I look forward to you seeing this too.
"2020 has been a roller coaster because suddenly all of your freedoms and your liberties are taken away.
It's the stresses, it's the anxiety.
There does appear, as you say, to be a disproportionate impact of the virus upon BME communities.
BAME is when you're thrown into a barrel.
Asian, minority ethnic groups and black people, we don't have the same difficulties or same issues.
Boris Johnson's government is now under intense pressure.
You cannot tell me any law that I broke. It's the worst public health crisis for a generation.
Like a Coca-Cola in a can that's been shaken. Outside it looks completely composed. On the inside, the Coke is just kind of like this. Don't open the lid.
So that's it. That's the documentary preview for you. So I want you to take a look at this. Make sure that you can engage in that conversation. I think once they have the actual documentary showing, there'll be questions to be had around it. And I say this because the news today, I noticed in the last 18 hours, Shanghai lockdown, whole communities relocated in anti-Soviet drive. Yeah, here we go again. So there's fresh efforts to relocate entire communities in areas of Shanghai as Chinese authorities enforce extreme measures to try to stop a new wave of Soviets. An official notice from the local Communist Party officials in an area in the north of the city details orders to transfer residents to quarantine facilities more than 100 miles away. The plan is to move people from their homes to the neighboring provinces where they will stay for at least a week. Young children and the elderly and those with disabilities could be excluded according to the notice. It said only those who tested negative could go. It's not clear why people with negative tests are being moved. Officials are under great pressure to cut the risk of transmission and reduce cases to zero. So here we go. So I just wanted to address that. I do want to tell you some good news, though. Yes, proud mum alert. It's arrived. Lovely book. As I told you last time, I think we asked you last week, so I told you about this. Very excited. Very, very excited. It's doing really well on Amazon. So if you do get the book, don't hesitate to, write a review, and that will assist him. And he's really excited about it now. Now he's started to get excited about it. It's like you can start to see it's really happening. So I love the journey that he's on. And I tell you, the influx of love and care from families and friends, it's been amazing. I really appreciate it. So thank you so much. As you know, he has this little Insta there, so you can always go onto his Instagram and see the updates there. All right, but I just want to say that to you. He's also going to do a soft launch next week on the 30th with Ultra Education, and so they're doing the largest young entrepreneurs in Wembley next week. So that's where he'll be doing his soft launch. Since the launch of his book, I've had calls. I feel like an agent. That's so funny. It's so weird for me. It's lovely, it's beautiful, but it's just so funny. I got calls about, got messages about, interviewing. He's got 3 interviews lined up. Bless him. So I'm really excited for him. So do follow, do take a look at his book. It's a lovely read. It's going to be beautiful for Kwanzaa. It's going to be beautiful for families. It's going to be beautiful for Black History Month and all year round. So it's going to be, and it's a really beautiful piece. And even though he's my son, I still say that if I looked at it and he wasn't my son, I'm very objective. If he wasn't my son, I still love it. And I think it's really good. So, well done to his dad for the design. Congratulations. Yeah, job well done. All right. Now I do want to go into some of the other news. Yeah. And see who's here this evening. Who's here this evening? Okay. Oh, okay. Now I have to tell you about this. Now, this is beautiful timing, sis. Beautiful timing. Kindred, beautiful timing. And I tell you why this is beautiful timing, because a news report came today, and in this news report I was a bit concerned. And I spent the day last weekend, with Go with Love with Sandra, and it was a fantastic day. And if you haven't been to her space, you're gonna love it. Anyone who knows me knows I don't really go out on a Sunday. Please don't ask me. That's my Mother's Day. That's personally my Mother's Day, right? And on Sundays, everyone can have the rest of the week and that kind of stuff, but Sunday's mine if I can have it. So it was really lovely to take my children with me to her space, and we got into lots of conversations around the earth and how to grow, and I'm very excited. I've been getting into my little garden space, clipping my little shrubs and things this week, so it's been really, really nice. So if you haven't been to the space, please check out the space. It's wonderful, really lovely space, and a beautiful sister. Honestly, gorgeous woman, phenomenal woman, love her. So, all right. So I want to say this, and I think this is really important because I'm going towards that, because it says where you got this whole thing with Ukraine war. World Bank warns of human catastrophe, food crisis. The world faces a human catastrophe from a food crisis arising from Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So we're looking at now all these different conversations around this. The rise in food prices would push hundreds of millions of people into poverty and low nutrition if the crisis continues. The World Bank calculates that there could be a huge 37% jump in food prices. This would hit the poor hardest, who will eat less and have less money for anything else, such as schooling. It goes on. So grow your food, teach your children, get into it. Let's not get caught in that one. All right. And finally, I'm keeping an eye on this story in particular. I am. And the story of child Q. And today, and I don't know if people see this as a win, but please, this is not a win. Yeah, and child Q, school says head stepping down due to ill health. So she didn't quite resign straight away. Imagine here we are, how many weeks on? It was last month, and no real change. There is a report that should be coming out, the final report, and then this and this and this will happen. But as it stands, yeah, she's leaving due to poor health, which is just a cop out. Yeah, a real cop out. And we know that really she should be suspended, should be sacked, and that's it, and removed from her post. That's what a win looks like. So if anyone's thinking that's a win, yeah, she'll still go on, she'll get better, or however it goes, and she'll move on to another institution. Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah, so that her name stays intact. So be aware of that. All right, enough. We're done. So thank you again for this evening. I'm really looking forward to this. I am. And I hope that your children, and I hope you pass this on, please share and please like it. Yes, of course, and comment. But please do share this. This is really important. A lot of children don't know how to play chess. And I learned when I was really quite young. I watched my uncles playing chess, actually, from quite a young age. And then I did chess I think in my primary years, and like small chess tournaments at lunchtimes, but nothing heavy, and but I would really like to pick it up properly. I picked it up in a lockdown, I have to say. I did, got really kind of into it, and I've kind of like stepped back from it. But I'm hoping tonight will help reignite it for me and reignite it for you and introduce it to you if you don't know the game itself properly already. So without further ado, I am going to share who we have this evening. We have tonight with us Seba Amosu, chess tutor, Mind Over Body Chess Academy and moral philosophy teacher. He is an African-centered chess tutor and co-founder of Mind Over Body Chess Academy in London, which was started in December 2013. He, alongside Chess Tutor Asante, started chess clubs in both London and Birmingham and began running chess tournaments for Black children annually from April 2014. Seba Amosu then started running his own chess tournaments in London in December 2016, which includes the KA tournament, which is a tournament in honor of his student, Kwesi Abraham. The KA tournament is centered around the children and members of the community participating in their matches to create an intergenerational chess tournament. The Afrika Chess board on the RBG Flag is a symbol that has lifted the relevancy of mind over body chess tournaments since its introduction in 2016. He also founded Seba Amosu Activities, in which he has been teaching African-centered moral philosophy to children of African descent since January 2017. His moral philosophy classes, which are done online and face-to-face, provide a platform for children to not only share their thoughts, but to encourage critical thinking, to build good character and leadership skills from an African perspective. Fantastic. So, the proverb for this evening, and I wanted to, choose something in line with this, is you can't become a teacher before you are taught. And so with that, I would like to introduce our brother this evening. Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you.
Greetings. Greetings. So, how are you? And thank you for coming on. Thank you for reaching out. You sent me your information, and I'd invite others to, if you've got a service or something that you'd like to share, an event coming up or something that you see that will benefit our community in the most helpful way, please, contact me and we can take it from there. So just send me the details and I'll take a look, and then I'll get back in touch with you. So, right. So I want to, I really want you to tell me a little bit about what kind of started the process for you. What's the feelings of chess for you, and how did that kind of come about? Yeah, because chess is not for everyone.
Right. Well,
it's a bit of a story. So I was introduced to playing chess in 2007. Yeah, it was 2007 that I was introduced to playing chess, and it was actually my business partner in Mind Over Body Chess Academy, Chess Tutor Asante. He taught me how to play chess. I'd come to visit him when he was living here in London, and he just asked me if I wanted to, if I knew how to play, and I said, I don't know how to play. I'd like to learn, and he taught me, and then we would just play weekly. We just play weekly. But the thing about it with me and Asante was we were very much involved in African-centered work. So i.e. organizations. So for me, I was a part of a Saturday school called Nubia African Community Foundation School. And so the lessons I got there when I was taught there at 9 years old, and then I became a teacher there for 10 years. For me, I took a lot of the lessons, which is very much connected to your proverb that you were speaking about, because for me, when I started teaching it, I was teaching it because I wanted for the children to have something to do that would be different from video games or music, because it just seemed like the only thing people were interested in was music. So I just kind of wanted to have something else that they could kind of reach to that would promote critical thinking or strategy. So chess for me, because it took me so long to beat Asante in chess, I just kept losing and kept losing and kept losing. And when I finally did get my win, I was excited and remember how I felt about the win. And I just kind of wanted to share that with the children that I was teaching in the Saturday school that I was a part of, which initially just sort of started in my own place. I had a few students and I would just sit down with them, play, talk about the game, talk about some of the things that they can and cannot do. And it sparked their interest. And I just found it just different. And I say all of this mentioning about the music because I used to do music and was very much involved in doing music. And it wasn't to say that I didn't want my students to not be involved in music at all. I just wanted for there to be options that they can have, where they're utilizing their mind. And chess promotes that a lot and promotes the idea of thinking ahead. And in this world, there are moves that are made where people are thinking ahead. Like it can be from 6 years all the way up to 25 years that the system is already thinking ahead. And so the idea of children thinking ahead, 2 moves ahead, 3 moves ahead, that they have that in their mind. I want for that to really be there for their memory, for their studies, to study other people and other cultures. So the idea is what I was taught in the Saturday school I came from. I just put it within chess to promote critical thinking and thinking ahead, but to do it in a fun way, to make it fun, and enjoyable. And the fun and enjoyable part is simply to introduce their culture to them through the game, because a lot of people tend to think of chess as Europeans play that game, or black people don't really play chess. They may play checkers. They don't really play these type of games. And I kind of wanted to change the narrative on that, and showcase that, you know, we are the first people on planet Earth, and we've created a number of different things. And I just thought that chess would be a way that, as they grow older, the idea of thinking ahead sticks with them. So, you know, chess in terms of expression was really worked for me. I found comfort in seeing the children progress. So in a nutshell, that's why I chose chess, specifically that game. I just think it's the best board game, in my opinion.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And I think you touched on some really good points, because you talk about the fact that people will think, okay, you know, it's Eurocentric and what have you, but, you know, we have to understand it's about mastery. Yeah. And whilst we're here on this plane, we need to look at what we need to master. Yeah. And so if there's a skill set, it's not always going to come from this place. It's not always going to come from that place. And we have to always remember that when we're doing stuff like this, we're reclaiming our knowledge. Yeah. We're reclaiming our ability to be, if you like, strategic. Where, you know, where we look at what's happening in the continent. Yeah. And we look at how, unfortunately, there is certain areas where there is not a strategy, yeah, for, you know, for self-sufficiency then, right? You know, as we know. So I think, you know, if anybody's thinking, well, this is not for me, or this is out there, or, you know, it's not Afro-centered, it's all about reclaiming that, yeah? You know, like when you, in the world of a doula, I remember that, you know, my background has been childbirth, right? So when you use the word doula, people go, you know, it's, when I first came into that field nearly 20 years ago now, it was, no one in our community knew about it, the word in particular. Then you have to break it down and show them that, okay, actually, it's that such like a traditional midwife, yeah? But at that time, it was hot news in their community, yeah? And we need to make things like this hot news, yeah? Because it's, you know, look at the world that we're living in right now, where children, you know, we talked about child Q, yeah? We talked about a number of things, yeah? Everything in life requires forward thinking, and everything in life requires a plan or a strategy and what have you, yeah? And not just blowing where the wind takes you, yeah? I'm all for flow. Yeah, you know, a lot of people use our community, let's just flow.
Right.
Come on. Tell me the truth now.
It's true.
Like, don't get caught on that. We're not there yet. We haven't made it yet. Yeah. We haven't arrived yet for us to be on flow. Yeah. It's critical out here. Yeah. And I think when you share what you share, I mean, I picked up that I went to a predominantly, you know, white secondary school, which is how I picked it up to play it, yeah, because it wasn't taught to me. I saw my uncles play it, and it was never transferred. It wasn't like, okay, yeah, you know. And that's what would happen. What would happen is the elders would play something, and you would, you know, you would get it later on, but not that maybe at the time when you're at your critical age, when, you know, when we're talking about the developmental years, yeah, when, you know, I mean, my youngest is 7, and so during the lockdown, at, you know, he was around 5, yeah, he picked up chess, yeah. So it's like, okay, you know what, you've not played chess before, that doesn't mean it's not possible, and you've got, you know how to think, yeah. And I think that's, you know, once you've taught your children the ability to critically think, which is what you're saying, yeah, from a very young age, I think it's important, you know, as, you know, we look at the education system here, and we see how, you know, they want to remove, you know, the ability to critically think, such that, you know, we're dealing with programmed alignment for whoever's, you know, whatever people want us to believe, or, you know, give our hearts to. Yeah.
Right.
So when you say that, I really it really resonates with me how important that kind of conversation, you know, children being exposed to it by other children as well, you know, seeing other children playing. It's like, you know, you would see an adult teaching a child, and then that's about as much as you see, and then you don't sort of see any more, yeah, out there in our community. Yeah. And so I really love the fact that, you know what, I've been on, I went on your page, and when I went on your page, you know, it was talking about, you know, some fantastic testimonials. If you haven't been to his page, go to his page. A fantastic page with you know, lots of testimonials as well. And, you know, you really hear, and what I loved about the testimonials, you really heard authentic sharing. Yeah. And really, you could really hear the difference that this was doing compared to anything else that I've heard testimonial wise. Like, I hear testimonials for this event and da da da. Of course I do. But you can get a strong sense of their children are really shifting. Yeah. And so I really, I suppose my next question, I know what you seek to teach them, but what do they feel that they learn, you know, especially when they start as well? Like, you're starting, you know, what do you think that they learn quite right off the bat?
Are you just talking about being in the environment, or like just chess in general?
Chess the game, yeah.
Okay.
And in that environment, both.
Okay, so I'll talk about both. The reason why the testimonials are the way they are is because of the African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. And one of the things that I recognize, or my role, is I'm a part of the village. So with me being a part of the village, I want to get to know the children that I'm teaching. So what are their interests? What are they like? What is their personality like? Because it will then help guide me in the way that I need to teach them, and in the way that I need to engage with them. So what I found is that engagement in how I teach helps them to be interested in chess, just from how I approach them. So there's a respect level that I have for the children. Yeah. So when I'm engaging with them, I don't engage with them like they're stupid. And sometimes people, they have a certain approach to children where they don't have any respect for them at all. They don't approach them in that way. So whatever it is that you're promoting, if you approach them the incorrect way, whatever it is you're promoting, they're not going to be interested. They're just not. Yeah. So with a game like chess, because for a number of them, I'm interested in how they think. So I want to know what it is that they think, because what it is that they think will be translated onto the board. So they say chess is the game of life. So as a Seba, as a teacher, that would be my role, to find out what it is that they're about, and then I can kind of gauge their personality based on how they move some of the pieces on the board. And they find that it's enjoyable, or they enjoy it a lot, because with the chess club that I have a very small chess club for homeschool children that I'm doing right now, because the lockdown had changed a number of things. So right now I'm building myself back up, doing chess tournaments again, and kind of getting my chess clubs back up and running. But with the group that I have, that are all different ages, they do some of my moral philosophy classes. So thinking is they're already thinking already before we even get to the chess club. We're having discussions, and they're already thinking already. So moving some of the the chess pieces, taking time to think, observing some of the better players. Some of the better players will play some of the ones that aren't as good, and I will put some of those children in a role to teach, because that's another thing, is the respect that I'll give the children responsibilities. So yes, I teach, I will observe, and I will watch, I will facilitate, but I give children the roles and responsibilities the same way that there's responsibilities for each piece on the chessboard. Yeah, it's the same approach. Yeah, and strategizing the right way, making sure that you've got the right opening move, and you've got the right pieces, so you're able to effectively control the middle game, and then having discussions about how they end the game. What are the strategies to do that? How can you make somebody do something that they don't want to do? What is your approach to doing that? So in having conversations with them and showing that respect for them, they can then take that and go home and practice at home. Whether they're practicing with their parents or their siblings or cousins or whoever, they're able to take that, and the incentive to do it, because there is an incentive, and the incentives are the tournaments. And the tournaments, the tournament environment is different from the chess club environment, because that's where a lot of the cultural stuff gets put into play. And speaking of the cultural stuff, there's something that I do that's different from many chess clubs. At my chess club, we do blacks first. We do not do whites first. And the reason we do that is because I noticed years ago, I had a student. He was 3 years old at the time. He's now 8 years old, but I still teach him today. But at 3 years old, I just kept hearing him say, "I want to be white. I want to be white. I want to be white." Kept saying it. So I just thought, that doesn't sound quite right. So I said, you know what? We're going to do blacks first, because we are the first people on planet Earth. So I just changed it. I was like, well, I want to control the narrative. I want us to control the narrative, and we can make chess how we want. Do you know what I mean? So I just said, I'm going to do it. So in 2016, the very first tournament I did in December, I said, it's going to be blacks first from here on out, and that's it. And that's what we're going to do. Now they can have other games with other people and do the whites first, but the point of it is that the whole idea and of them being the first will already be indoctrinated in them, so it will be a part of them. And so when they see the imagery at the tournaments, the imagery of the Afrika board, the Afrika chess board shaped like Mama Africa, and the red, black, and green flag, and that being the final game, the children want to get there. They want to get to that board. Where do you think we need to be getting to as a people?
Right. No, right. I like it. No, it makes sense.
It makes sense.
I like it. I like it. It makes sense. Look, we know about the brainwashing, and we're having to, if you like, reprogram and reinstate our position and our cultural position upon to our children. That is how it is. Yeah. Not apologizing for being us and having heritage that's been disconnected. Yeah. Not at our, fault of our own. Yes. Some, yes. But from a larger context, we recognize the importance of I have these conversations with my children all the time. Like, okay, if we live there, we have a conversation at the moment about houses and houses here and how much they cost in Ghana and how much they cost here and how much money would it cost to, you know, here, and what would you get for your money over there? Yeah. So they get to see that actually, you know what, you could have 20K and it could work out nicely. Yeah. You don't have to think like you have to have 20K, can't go far at all over here. Yeah. But you could potentially build your spot in a particular position. So we've been having those conversations, and you do have to have these conversations from a young age. You can't be apologizing for it. And I think when you say that, you know, they're going through this chessboard and you know, there's a willingness and a drive to reach that final board. Yeah. It's like, you know, like any tournament, you know, it's a particular carpet or it's a particular, you know, space and environment. Yeah. And if you set up that space and that environment for that win, you know, people will want it. And I think that's really, you know, it's really powerful that the children gravitate towards it. It's almost like you just give it to them. It's almost like teaching a child to walk. And then, you know, they want to, you know, no child goes, well, nah, maybe not. Yeah. They actually want it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen, from when I introduced it, I've seen how the children have responded to the chess tournaments. Some, they get really emotional about it. The journey of, you know, in some, obviously, the personalities have changed over time. And with chess, it's humbled some people. Sometimes in the chess club, there have been some children that just think, I'm the best, nobody can touch me. And then they kind of get humbled and they kind of realize, you know what, they've had to learn from that loss and they've had to reflect on it, where they wouldn't win straight away. And then when they do get the win, they appreciate the win. And then on top of that, when they win and they see that their opponent has not won, the respect that they would have for their opponent. And that's one of the things that has been encouraged over time with the etiquette, having the right etiquette when you're dealing with each other. Because
it's about your attitude, yeah, and having a winner's attitude, but also having a respectful attitude towards your opponent and healthy competition as opposed to toxic competition. That's right. And which toxic competition is always promoted these days. Yeah, so it takes it really is. Yeah, and so it's really, and so when we'll get on to the conversation around your moral philosophy, but I love that those two just sound really like they work and they marry well, if you like, right? I would be interested. I have a question around, you said something about, you know, how people play chess. Yeah. I think one of the things I think you learn, I think children learn from chess that they don't learn, especially not through music, especially not through gaming and music per se, is delayed gratification. Yeah. Which is a very important skill now, would you believe? Yeah.
Yes.
And when they have to wait and have those healthy neurons firing off that say, okay, I have to wait for this. I have to graduate towards that. I have to train myself with that. You can't rush chess.
You cannot.
Chess is it's like, and it's one of those things where you have to be prepared for a half day, you know, however it is, depending on who you're playing, you have to be prepared for it, like, you know, set time aside for it. Yeah. It's you know, it's like you're filling your cup, you know, but it's like taking a long bath. You have to take time. Yeah.
Right.
You have to eat a good meal. You have to take time. Yeah. Right. If you can't, you know, young people want to grow up tomorrow. We had this guy, my children had this conversation yesterday. They said, you know, it's funny, Mum. You know, children want to be you know, they want to be really adults quickly. Yeah. And children, and then adults, you know, when you're looking at all these different TikToks and things, right? And adults want to be children. I said, you got it. I said, you got it. I said, I'll tell you what it is. As a children, you know, you get to a point where you're, you know, your child, you just want, you know, I want to be able to eat this and to do that and do this and have that. We all had the same conversations. I want to do this when I'm an adult. And as soon as you hit 18, you want to be that child again. You're like, whoa, hold on a minute. Let me just step back from that. So, you know, it's finding, and we just talked about, because they're both sort of having that kind of puberty together. You know, my 7, 8-year-old, you know, Dr. Lelia Africa says 9 is the new 13. He's not wrong. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong. So they're having puberty together right now in my house. So they're having to manage each other, each other's behaviors, and, well, you know, why do you feel like that? And, well, you know, comparing each other. And I always talk about to compare is to despair. And so, you know, when you talk about competition, and that comes back down to the conversation about competition, when you are in a healthy competitive mindset, you compare and it becomes despair. And then you're, you know, obsessing, you know, over, you know, this detail and that detail, maybe say, right. And then there is a time to flow, you know, you know, it's like a zone. You know, years ago, I used to be, you know, very much an athlete and do a lot of sport. So there's a particular zone, almost like that athletic mind. For chess, it's like mental athletics. And so it's very much around composing yourself, very much around, you know, not being impulsive. So it's teaching you to delay gratification, forward thinking, you know, prediction. It's just like a catalog of skills all on one board. That's how I see the board. So I'm really interested in maybe the archetypes that you see sometimes when you say, you know, like, you can tell how, so, you know, you can tell the type of person by the way they play chess. I'd be interested in that. Tell me about that.
Okay, so I say that based on like attitudes, certain attitudes that people will have when they first come to play chess, or where they've been before they've started to play chess. Some people, they've come into chess and every other activity that they've done, they've won everything. Or some people have come in to chess, as you mentioned about delayed gratification, where they're not used to that. They're used to they're used to winning. They see and look at other people and they say, well, I've got this in the bag. This is easy. Do you know what I mean? And they make, the thing with chess is you can make one mistake. Just one. And the mistake that you make, that person can take advantage of that. And then your whole game is taken away from you. And then if you've lost to someone that you didn't think you were going to lose to before, how do you conduct yourself with the other games if you're in a tournament? That's a challenge for each child that has gone through a loss, or they haven't won in a tournament before, and they may look at the trophies and the medals and it looks all nice, and you're like, right, I really want this, and then they can't get it straight away. And then they realize they have to practice, and they have to keep practicing for them to accomplish that. And it can take time. They may not get it in 1 month, 2 months, 5 months, 1 year. It may take a while for them to get it. And some of the children that I've taught over the years, some of them have got it within a year. Some of them have got it within 2 years. Sometimes it takes longer, but they keep coming back and I think it challenges them, the fact that they can't get it straight away. Do you know what I mean? That's why the ones, because I think there's been 2 children that have won straight away.
Wow.
And they've won straight away. And the difference is, and this is no disrespect to them, the children that did not win will practice, and then they get better, and they want to play them in particular. The ones that normally win straight away will leave.
Okay.
Will normally leave, and because they've got the prize straight away, and so they think that that's it, that's the end.
Yeah, they think that's the lesson.
That's the lesson. Yeah. The ones that don't win straight away
get the most.
They have to work. They work it, and then when they do get it, they realize, I've really worked hard for this. I really appreciate this moment. I can appreciate this moment. And then because of what I teach, they'll be like, I want my people that is around me, I want them to experience this too. But I want to be better. So I will train with the ones that are that I'm playing against, because I want them to be better. So because there've been rivalries in my tournaments where children have beaten other children, and it takes a while for them to get their victory, but they get it. They get their victory eventually. And then the other person is like, yeah, you understand what I'm saying? But that's the journey that I feel chess brings. That whole delayed gratification that you're talking about is very important. And I think it's why I think the chess club that I have and the chess tournaments I do is why it's been as good as it has been, because of those moments. Because even those moments where children, they get upset, they get emotional, they cry, they feel that, oh, I could have done better. Some recognize that they didn't train as much as they should have taken it a little bit more seriously. There's more players that are coming in that they didn't expect, and they're very, very good. So now they have to step up their game even more. And then you start hearing stories like they're playing adults, and then they start beating the adults. And the adults feel like they've got to step up their game now. And that's the great thing about it, and why the tournaments, for me, especially the car tournament that I did in honor of my student, that one in particular, I wanted for the children to boost the children's self-esteem. It was designed for the children's self-esteem to be boosted, and for the adults to be like, wait a minute, the children are this good, we have to actually step up our game a little bit, because there's been like a back and forth between the children and the adults in that particular tournament. It's centered around the children, and it's sort of like a kind of rites of passage where the children will play adults in 5 rounds, and it's almost like they're going through stages of, it could be an older sibling, it could be an uncle, it could be a teacher in the community, or it could be an elder. I've had someone as old as someone in their 80s playing a 9-year-old.
Oh, that's lovely.
And those things are important because that's our culture. It's
Intergenerational. You're dealing with intergenerational knowledge, wisdom. You're at that point, you're not dealing with age. Yeah, you're dealing with skill,
right?
Mind to mind. Yeah, skill to skill, attitude to attitude, respect to respect. Yeah.
Right.
So in that sense, it's like it's the subtle nuances of healing. Yeah. Intergenerational healing, which I can hear, which is, lovely. I think that's a really very, very powerful space to be in. And I just want to open up the space to people if they do have a question or they want to come into the space. I've just put it in the chat. So if anybody wants to come in and join the conversation, or you have a question about chess, or, you know, anything to do with chess, or you have just a question that you've wanted to ask around chess, maybe it might be a little advice, you know, tips, you know, chess moves, you know, what, you know, how can I push my game to the next level? You know, if you was a tennis coach, wouldn't you ask? And do you know what I mean? So come into the space if you are a chess player or you're interested in playing chess and you want to kind of get into that conversation some more. So it's in the chat right there. So I wanted to go on to ask you a little bit about, because you mentioned a lot about, you know, it's very much around the journey versus the destination. Yeah. The destination, yes, is the win. But when schools would talk about enrichment classes, yeah, what you get a sense of is the enrichment that comes from not winning straight away, yeah, having that journey of wanting it, yeah, going through okay, I'm going to have to practice, because if you win straight away, you didn't get this, you got the medal, you got the cup, you got that experience. Mm-hmm. But in terms of development, because what I hear, there's a lot of personal development inside of this. Right. So that the children can develop, you know, the art of winning, the art of competition, yeah, the ethics around chess. I mean, it's you know, they might think it's a gentleman's game, or, you know, it's that kind of, and it's not to say that we don't have that, but it's very much around, okay, you can't come to it like you come to football, yeah, mm-hmm. You can't. You know, even if you come to a place where, you know, you don't win, even how you lose, how you operate when you lose matters. Yes. Yeah.
And I have seen children respond differently to when they lose. And I've seen children be really angry. I've seen children break down. I've seen children congratulate. I to give you an example, the 3-year-old I spoke about that I taught, and he was 8. He got into the top 8 of a chess tournament I did in March, and he was in the quarterfinals, and they had 2 games. One was like a stalemate. Stalemate is like when the king can't move. Wherever he moves itself into check. So it's a draw. So they had to play again. This 8-year-old was playing a 15-year-old. And he lost because of the rules of the game. There's certain rules within the game. He was actually winning, but he made an incorrect move where he touched his opponent's piece. And if you touch your opponent's piece, you have to commit. You can't take it back. So that kind of messed up his whole game, and he lost. But what he did is he clapped his opponent, and as an 8-year-old, I thought that was very commendable. The fact that he was clapping his opponent for his win, for him to go on to the semi-finals, and that same 8-year-old was watching the same boy that beat him in the finals. He was watching very closely. And normally when stuff like that happens, that means your time is coming. You know, so I watch these things because that's normally what happens every single time. You know, so I think that's really powerful. I mean, my sons play football, and I'm always talking to them about the psychology of sport. Yeah. And, you know, even, you know, when you know, because you hear about sport and how, you know, how, if you like, just out there and all these kinds of different things and the racism that goes on with it. So that they, you know, one of them's a really keen footballer,
Yeah. And so we have these conversations about even playing sports, and we play badminton, in the summer and spring times. And when we play, it's all about learning to champion each other, the art of sportsmanship, the art of, championing each other to, like, okay, you didn't win, but you did win. But how did that other person play?
Right.
Yeah. And so it's about championing that, so that person can, obviously, it's all about, these things build self-esteem, they build confidence. Yeah. And so I love the idea of, taking it into a space where it's Afro-centered, it's for us. Yeah. It's not out there, it's not accessible for our children. I don't even know if they do chess clubs hardly anymore. You don't even hear about chess clubs anymore, like when I was in school. Yeah. So you don't really hear about chess tournaments in our community either. Yeah. It's a missing. Yeah. So I think, you're filling a gap, a well-needed gap in our community, that we shouldn't dismiss. If anyone wants to come in, I saw somebody was trying to join. It won't let you come on unless you have your camera on and your mic on. Yeah. Otherwise, it just, the platform just doesn't let you on. Yeah. So if I can't see you, they can't see you. No one can see you. Sorry. So if you want to come on, don't hesitate. You can still come on and jump into the space and square here. That would be fine. And chess is a fantastic game. I love the conversation around it, and I think I think it's very much a transferable skill, very much so. Yeah. And we just got greetings. I just want to highlight your thanks in the comments here. Kamani Hibbett. So thank you, greetings. We also have somebody called Blockchain Monkeys, who I think I was talking about the possibility of, contact me by Instagram. That would be easier. And they're doing educating about blockchain to young children as well. So thank you for that. It's all about skills. It's all about bringing our skills online and coming together in this kind of skill set and fashion. I would like to ask you, I suppose, how does it, when you're dealing with parents as well, do you find that the parents are also already play, or that the parents are encouraged to play, or they shy away from playing, I suppose is the question.
Some of them play and some of them don't play. But the thing that I do is I will engage them about how their children are progressing in the game. So they will encourage their child to play, or there'll be somebody in the family that plays. The important thing is I try to form good connections with the parents, because the connections I have with the parents will help me to gauge how I can interact with the child, and I can interact with them correctly in the right way. So I find that some of them, they do play, and they do sit down with their children, and I've recently been sending checkmate exercises to some of the parents. I will send them the checkmate exercises, and some of them will sit down with their child and they will go over it with them, or they will do the task themselves, and then they will send me a short little clip of just the chessboard and just them moving the pieces. But I know that the parents are involved in that. So I'd say it's like 60-40. A good portion of the parents know how to play. Some of them know how to play at a higher level than others. But when I'm doing my tournament, it's all in fun. I try to keep it very fun orientated. So some of the children will be like, well, I can beat my mom, or I can beat my dad. They're not really that much of a challenge or anything like that. But my whole ethos is bringing our people together. So over time, some of the parents have got better. Some of them have met them kind of halfway. Do you know what I mean? But I find the importance of keeping the connection with the parent, having a good relationship with them, parent or parents, having a good connection with them. Because to give feedback, there's been some parents that only one knows how to play, maybe one doesn't know how to play, but they're really enthusiastic about the game and understand that the game has helped their child to think more, and it shows in their interaction with the children. So 60-40, I'd say.
Do you find that a lot of parents go on, a lot of parents do go on, if they started and they weren't playing, do they find themselves going on to play because of their children?
Yes, I've had children that I've taught and their parents do not know how to play. And they've learned with their child. That's definitely happened 100%. I've had a number of parents where that's happened.
Excellent. So I want to go on a little bit further. I want to talk a little bit more now about the Seba Amosu Activities. So I just want to read off some of this, because some of this I didn't read a bit earlier, but you have the activities in which you have been teaching African-centered moral philosophy since 2017. The moral philosophy classes, which are done online and face-to-face, provide a platform for children not to only share their thoughts, but to encourage critical thinking, to build good character and leadership skills from an African perspective. The moral philosophy classes were started to allow morality to be at the forefront of the conversation on various topics concerning African people. By asking children questions, it forms an identity of pride to be African. The moral philosophy classes have also been a space where the members of the community are guests in the children's forum, where they can see their development and chime in from different parts of the world online. The classes also give the children the opportunity to teach each other and to have different generations, from teenagers all the way to the elders, give feedback on what they teach and how they can improve. Seba Amosu's roots is that he is a student of the Nubia African Community Foundation, and from 1991, and taught voluntary at the school from 2006 to 2016. The oaths of Ma'at, which were formed from the school, are what he uses within his moral philosophy classes to spread the message he gained from Nubia ACFS, which sets a foundation for all the students that have been a part of the classes. So please expand a little bit more on that. Please tell us a bit more about that. And how is that separate from what you teach inside of your chess academy, or is it integrated?
Okay. So the chess is, I've integrated it. I've integrated it, but because at a young age I was at the Nubia African Community Foundation School, I wanted to find a way to connect with other children that didn't necessarily go to the Saturday school, or they couldn't go to the Saturday school because of where they were situated. So in 2017, I was just doing one-to-one sessions with children initially, and I would go to their houses and I would do my lessons there and take the 12 oaths of Ma'at that I learned in 1991 and bring it and have discussions around those oaths. and they're it is centered around Ma'at, the 7 virtues of Ma'at. And if you don't know, for those that don't know, that's truth, justice, reciprocity, righteousness, harmony, order, and balance. So I would always do classes around that. Sometimes I would find a proverb. We would have discussions on the proverb. There'd be topics or things that would happen in the news, and I would get the children to sit down and analyze what's going on and get them to think about it. Like, does that sound right? Why does it sound right? Does it sound wrong? Why does it sound wrong? And really get them to really start to think about it. And then what I would do is I would just give evidence of things. Repetition is an important thing. When people are talking about what the enemies of African people do on a consistent basis, sometimes the children won't understand it unless you show evidence. And the evidence has to be up to date. So what I do is I will showcase the evidence. So it could be a news report, it can be a news clip. To give an example, Ukraine. So what's happening in Ukraine now? What I would do is I would show clips of them talking about how they are embracing themselves, them talking about Europeans getting killed. Yeah. Them talking about, oh, it's European that are being bombed, and all of these type of things that they talk about. Yeah. And what I will do is I will highlight it. And then I will highlight what's happening to African people. Then I will highlight how African people are embracing those very same people that are disrespecting them. And then I will ask the question. So I will show all of these things and I'll say, what do you think about that? Like, what is your opinion on that? Yeah. And I would listen to their opinion. Whether or not they agree or they disagree, I give them the platform to speak their mind. And that's important. It was important that it was a children's forum. So whilst I am teaching morality, it's giving the platform for the children to be able to speak, because that whole the children are the future thing that a lot of people like to say. It's important that they have a platform where they feel respected. They're not just there for show. They have to feel respected. So any guest that comes in the class, it's not them coming there to teach. You've come there to listen. Yeah. And you've come there to give your feedback on what you've heard. Do you get what I'm saying? That's where the lessons will come in. But you ain't come there to preach to them. That's not what you've come there for. Because the children need to feel that their voice is heard and need to feel that their voice is respected. And then that's how we can have a dialogue and we can share and we can pass on the lessons that way, as opposed to just preaching to them, because they ain't hearing that. You know what I mean? And in my studies of dealing with children, I've noticed that when I've given them that space to be able to speak, they will want to speak, even if I disagree with what they're saying. Because I can disagree with what they're saying and I can challenge them. Yeah. But the challenge that I give to them, they don't feel that they're being shut down, that they can't say what it is that they feel. Yeah. And then what normally happens is, as teachers, we find ways to showcase. This is where the repetition comes in. You show things, you show the evidence, and then they'll be like, you know what? I've seen this a lot and I can understand. I'm going to look into this a little bit more. Or I understand your point now, Seba, because I've seen this. Or what do you think about this? they will then feel comfortable to be able to do that. And they will, because the OVs are the center point of everything. So everything that I tend to do, I will always bring it back to those OVs. So like, for example, it is my duty to understand myself as a role model and to give positive guidance to ones younger than me. Now that particular OVs, the children have to say these OVs every week. When they say them, I don't want them to just say them and then that's it. I want them to practice them. So the reason why I'm getting the children, I'm putting the children in a position to where they can teach, because that's what I've been doing. That I've been doing things where the children will come, they will do presentations, and they will teach. Because more than likely, the children are gonna feel enlightened by their peers or someone that's closer to their peers. So if they're saying the things that I've been saying, and they deliver it in their style, they're gonna soak up the information a lot easier. Yeah. And I've also learned it's not about me, it's about the children. Yeah. And I learned that a long time ago. And so I want to put them at the forefront. So when I do the generational feedback that I do, where children as young as 7, 8 years old will come in and do a presentation for children that are 13, 14, myself, someone that's in their 40s or someone that's even in their 60s, and all of those different generations will give feedback to the child. Do you know what that will do to the child of 7, 8 years old? That will boost their self-esteem, boost their confidence, and make them feel really comfortable and confident about who they are as an African. And if that is done on a consistent basis to where they're given the platform to do that, that helps how they will deal with people. Because if I'm dealing with them correctly, I'm following the OVs the same way that they are following the OVs. So anything that I'm saying, if I'm telling them to respect elders and they don't see me respect elders, how is that going to work? It doesn't work. So anything that I tell them, they directly see me follow that. I try to be as consistent as possible. I'm not perfect, but I try to be as consistent as possible and provide the platform for the children to be able to do that. And all of these ideas that I'm talking about didn't come from me. It came from the parents that I speak with. And this is where I was talking about the village earlier, because parents can have ideas for what could be effective for the children, and I will listen to what it is that they have to say, and I will find ways that I can implement it into the class. So for example, somebody may not necessarily be as great writing. They might be better talking. They might be better drawing, providing art, and that's their form of expression. And so I learned, let me provide different ways that people can express themselves through the platform. And then that makes them feel more comfortable in engaging, you know? So for me, that was what the philosophy was about. It's about being an example, showcasing the right and wrong, yeah, but providing a platform for them to have that discussion and their viewpoint respected. And that was what I wanted to do. And then to build on that, to give the opportunity for the children to be able to share what it is that they've learned amongst themselves, as opposed to me just sitting there like going on like I'm all great and I know everything, and that's not how leaders are formed.
Right.
And to me, that's the level that I wanted to get to get the morality, to get their heart right, because there's a lot of rotten heart, unfortunately. And this is important if we want to liberate our people on a mass level. Their hearts need to be in the right place for you to be able to deal with them correctly and to form the trust that is necessary. And this has to be formed to the
From an
children
early
from
age.
a young
Yeah.
age.
And I think what you're doing makes sense, because it's, you know, like when you don't get that kind of grounding, yeah, and you know, when you're young, something happens, you know, everyone has sort of an original incident of some kind, right? That happened, and had they made it mean something, and it played out in this way, and it changed the course of their story. But we have to be able to, I think what you're doing, the work that you're doing with young people at this point, and when you talk about rotten hearts, yeah, we're seeing a lot of it. I recognize that, you know, a lot when we see our children hurting other children in a way that we've never seen before. Yeah, it's not something we've seen. Yes, we've heard about child soldiers, but these children are not at war, not that kind of war. Yeah. And so when you have these, you don't have morality kick in from an early age. Yeah. Children also, you know, I say this to parents, children who also have you know, are maybe spoiling their children. Yeah. Creates a sense of, you know, a twisted sense of morality. Yeah. With a lot of children who, unfortunately, if they don't have people around them or what have you, or if they are an only child, sometimes that can happen. Yeah. It's quite common. Yeah. Nobody designed it that way. It's just that certain things didn't come into their environment like that. Yeah.
Right.
I remember when my eldest son, who's 22 now, was an only child for the first 10 years. And when he was 3 years old, I was having a consultation with Dr. Lady Afrika, and he said, he's not good at being an only child. Yeah. You know how he speaks, right? And he was right. He was absolutely spot on, because by the time my son was 7 and, you know, about 7 years old, he was begging for a sibling, and he was talking about how lonely he was. Yeah. Now his sibling came along. Ta-da! Yeah. Right. But I know how that could have gone. Yeah. And we were having this conversation in our house, because the two, you know, one's 7 and one's 12. So having this conversation about, okay, you know, how we share, you know, and how you know, we talk a lot about birth order in our house and the archetype of birth order. Yeah. And helping each of them to understand, you know, well, the first one is likely to be a bit like this. The middle one is likely to be like, yeah, which is me too. Right. Look at everything from every angle, like, okay. That's why you can see why I gravitated towards chess, right? And funny enough, and my middle son, the writer, he's the one who gravitates towards chess too, out of all my children. Yes, yeah, because he's be able to see things from different sides and different views, right? And so we talk about that, and you know, and also, you know, what they're learning about, you know, we have conversations about values, you know, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Yeah. Right. And, you know, don't give what you don't want. Yeah. It's just the line in our house. Yeah. You know, they're going to hear that one when I'm gone. Yeah. Right. You know, because that sets the balance, that sets that, you know, when we talk about reciprocity, you know, in terms of like, when we talk about the Martyr Oath, and you talk about balance, yeah, the importance of a powerful exchange. It doesn't have to be an exchange where it could, you know, it has to be monetary.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be an exchange. It could be the meeting of minds, the meeting of ideas,
Right.
yeah, the meeting of skill, yeah,
Right.
and those types of things. You know, what I like about this, and I think I think we'll have another conversation about my middle one coming over to to your work, definitely at some point for sure. When he says that hits 13, I think that's going to be a beautiful age for him anyway. So yeah, we'll definitely have that conversation. But I think what you're doing is really shaping them, and I can see you work with my children are homeschooled actually, but you work with children that are homeschooled. But how do you find? Are you working with children who are not homeschooled, and how do you find, if you like, not compares, but how do you see that they are able to take that in? Do you see how that helps them go when they're going into those environments, those oppressive environments, in fact?
It has. So my online classes, there's quite a few of them that go to school, because my classes are they're in the afternoon, so they're like from 5 o'clock. So they would have finished school, they go home, get themselves kind of together. I'm sure that they have my class, and then they'll probably have their dinner afterwards. That's normally how it goes. But I found that there has been a shift. In some of them, they've been in school and they've noticed certain things in school that they didn't really pick up on before. Some of their parents have kept them in school. Some of them have wanted to take them out because of what they're learning or because of some of the things that they're learning. But I have noticed that there is a change. I still do deal with children, but I think it's mainly the online classes as opposed to the face-to-face classes that I will deal with the children that are, because I will ask questions about what they're like. I'll give you an example. I always ask the question about Black History Month all the time. And I always say to them, like, let's just take it on a Black History Month level. There's 31 days in October. Yeah. Do they cover Black history for 31 days? I haven't had one child yet tell me that all 31 days that they cover Black history. Normally they would say that they'll have an assembly, there'll be some dance that they do, they may mention a few athletes, maybe MLK Jr., and that's about it. By the end of the week, you might see some things that are on their
Display.
wall, display, but that's about it. And I've been teaching moral philosophy since 2017. I ask the question every year for children that go in school, and the question never changes. The answer never changes, ever. It just remains the same. And I said that, why do you think that that's the case? Why do you think that in Parliament that you have Black people or Black MPs that will say that they shouldn't have certain historical facts brought up in these institutions because it will make white children feel guilty,
uncomfortable, yeah,
and uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why do you think all of these things are taken up? These are the questions I will ask the children. Yeah, these are the questions I will ask the children, and this is why I will always say I'm dealing with African future. Yeah, and this is what I'm dealing with, and it's happening every month. Yeah, but I will always highlight these particular months and what happens in what I call the insane stream schools.
I like that. I like the play on words. Yes,
yeah,
it's true.
So,
very true. Very true. Very true. Very true. Very true.
So yeah, I do deal with children that are in, and it works the same way. I will find out what they're about, how the ways that I need to interact with them, and normally it's the same. Now, I'm very, there's this quote that I learned whilst I was in Baltimore, and it's stuck with me, and it's organize from the micro to the macro, not the macro to the micro. So I'm aware that I can't necessarily save everybody, but the ones that are open for the information, I've got time for them. Yeah, and because there's works that need to be done, there are those that I will select where I'll see, yeah, there might be struggle, but they're open to learning something new, as opposed to I'm battling people to get them to see a specific a path. I'm very focused on the people that I did, and this is why I deal with the parents. This is why I interact with the parents, and that's important, because once I have that relationship with them, and I have that relationship with their child, when their child is out of line, I can deal with their parents. So to give you an example of some of the things that I do, am I going to do this for every child? Probably not, but this is just an example of some of the things that I've done. There's been some children that have been disrespectful to their parents, really disrespectful to their parents, and I don't really deal with the beating thing. However, what I do is I will sit down with them and I'll say, look, you're disrespectful to your parents again. We're going to go on a long walk. I like walks. I enjoy walks, and this gives me a chance to dialogue with the child, but their feet will be in pain because we'll be walking for miles and miles and miles. And normally they will remember the fact that we walked miles and miles and miles, and then they don't want to walk those miles and miles again. So they're more than likely to behave themselves. So that is some of the interactions that I will have, but that's based on the relationship that I've built with the parent and I've built with the child. So it allows me to get myself in a position where I can do something like that. And again, that develops a closeness, almost very family orientated. Most of the testimonials that you'll hear over time, they will say that it feels very family orientated, the environment that is created, that it feels very family orientated to the point, hey, I will get invited to birthday gatherings or special gatherings. I'll get invited to these things.
Yeah, you'll be like family now. You're family. You become like a family member. But because what I see is that you incorporate the way in which you incorporate your moral philosophy inside of the work. It becomes a kind of effortless dance between both polarities, if you like, and synergize, if you like. And I think you're right when you talk about the importance of the parents. Yeah, I think you can have a real impact if you're connected to the parents. Some parents, might be a little bit like, delicate about you. You're not really chastising the child, not really. Taking them for a walk is not chastising them. Yeah.
But before it would even get to that level, there'd be an understanding. Like I would have a conversation with the parent first. So that wouldn't even it's not like I have a good relationship with them.
Yeah, that you can engage in that. But it's also about, look, school system is what the school system is, but we all know that you know, their way of discipline is just removing and isolating and you know, that whole school to prison pipeline, setting the child up to be isolated, not doing anything, idle hands and that kind of thing, right? You're not gonna, you know, you're not really exploring what's going on for the child. You're not exploring about, you know, the impact of the child's behavior on anyone else. It's just a punishment. They didn't go to detention, more punishments, and then it escalates, yeah? And so, you know, it's a system that's broken and doesn't work. Yeah. And I think that what you do there is you combine the learning that they have with you already, you know, and having a conversation with the parents. They're already committed and on board. Yeah. And so you're not just supporting the child, you're supporting the family.
Right.
Yeah. And so when you
Isn't that what we're supposed to be doing? Right, really?
Of course, absolutely. And I say that as a doula because I often get invited to, you know, I'm become part of the family for many years as well, so I can understand that the work, and not everybody gets that, and especially males. Yeah, I think that's a real powerful and privileged position for you to be in, and I think it's very much from the conversation I'm having with you and the work that you're doing. It's very well deserved. Yeah. Not everybody has that experience or can have that experience with families. Yeah. Not everybody can do that. Yeah. So I know that you must have a real high level of emotional intelligence to start with, to be able to be allowed as a male into the family, to impact the family like that, the family dynamic, and such that there's a trust and a relationship with you like uncle, that you can, you know, take that child on a very long walk, and by the time that long walk has, you know, come to its end, that child has resolved a lot, and it's great. And that's exactly what we're supposed to be doing. Not every parent can go for, you know, 2-3 hour walks with each child. It's just not practical. Right. Yeah. And so we, you know, I know the role that I do, it fills a gap in our community, but it's also about other gaps, male gaps. Yes, certainly gaps where men can teach a particular skill. I always talk about, you know, men and trades, and how dying of having a trade, you know, trade is dying off. Having a trade is, you know, becoming obsolete. And yet there's a push to a little driving force going on with young people, but it's petered off up here. Yeah. For a lot of people. So I recognize, again, these are skills, you know, certain skills, fixing things, being able to use that skill set, being able to problem solve, which is what chess is about as well. Yeah, solving the problem that you're either not winning or you're not playing in a particular way. Every move is you've got to solve something. Yeah. And so I love that, you know, again, you take the fact that you have to solve something, and that child then, fast forward, has a situation and it can be applied. Yeah, it's not, okay, well, thank you, you've done great with your chess, you've got the tournament, etc., etc. It's African centered, off you go, see you later. Yeah, love that. I really respect that. I really respect that. And what your work tells me is it's holistic. Yeah, and you're dealing with families on a holistic level, such that, you know, that these children, you know, they can be a credit to the work that you do. Yeah, I can hear, if you haven't heard it, and we're going to be wrapping up in a minute, but if you haven't heard it, go on to, you know, his Instagram, and you'll hear the testimonies. The fact there's some really touching testimonies. You really do feel them. Yeah, you really do feel, okay, this child is transformed. Yeah, you can hear, you know, that whole caterpillar to butterfly experience for that child. Yeah. And it's not always about the win. So I really, you know, I can't thank you enough for reaching out to me, because you're speaking my language. Yeah. This is my language.
Right.
Yeah. So I really appreciate, you know, that you do this work, you know, and I really want people to support the work that's getting done here. So that, you know, what our young people can, in a time like this, specifically when we are dealing with quarantine convos and the likes. Yeah, our children. This is the most important time for our children to be critical thinkers. Yeah, if they weren't before, it's now. Yeah, it's now. And then on top of the last 2 years, you've got a programmed alignment. Time to think for themselves is heavily important. So this work that you're doing, you're giving it to them in a auditory fashion, a kinesthetic fashion, and visual fashion. They're destined to get it. Yeah, you can hear they're destined to get it because you've covered the bases in terms of how you connect with each child individually. Yeah, not each child, and understanding, understanding the different almost learning styles, but the different archetypes of learners. Yeah, meaning that you're able to deal with the subtle nuances of a child. You know, a lot of children don't get taught. Lots of children don't get taught how to have healthy competition. It goes missing in the household. It goes missing at school. It goes missing only if they were maybe training in competitive sports. Do they get that coaching?
Right.
But they never really get that coaching. School never tells you, you know what, if somebody says, oh, you know, they start taunting each other. Teachers don't really go, oh, you know, unless you're primary school, they don't. They don't get involved. They like the healthy, and they don't have, a lot of schools don't have, especially in secondary, don't have the emotionally intelligence and not equipped because of their own stuff, their own competitiveness. They can't manage something that they haven't taken on themselves.
Right.
Yeah. They can't start teaching about healthy competition and they haven't had their own self-management on healthy competition. Yeah, what it looks like, because they won't be able to. It's something you can't fake. Actually, it's really something you can't fake in the world of competitive people. It's something you can't fake. You know, it's very clear. So I really appreciate that. And it goes back to the proverb that I said earlier today, which was like, you can't become a teacher before you're taught.
That's right.
So I just really want to thank you. And if there's anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up, please do. But outside of that, I want to be able to let people know where they can get hold of you and when your next sessions are.
Right.
So go ahead.
Right. Well, I'm gonna be I'm currently on a break, but in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be starting my classes back again, which I believe, if you're online, it will be the 3rd of May. I think it's the 3rd of May. 3rd of May and the 1st. I think it's the 1st or the 3rd of May. So around that time, and then I have a class that my face-to-face class starts on the 6th of May. So, but I'm going to be doing a chess tournament again. In June. I know that it will be probably the end of June before the summer break. So for those that would be interested in just observing.
I was just going to ask that. Can we come and see?
Yeah, like just to come and observe, see what it's like. I'm going to be doing some promotions. I'm currently looking into venues and those things right now. And then the children are currently training. Currently, my face-to-face chess club is currently full. However, I'm working on setting up another one for a later time. So I'm going to be putting that information out there. And once I get at least 6 children, I will open it. I will open the chess club where the children can play face-to-face. Alternatively, if people want one-to-one sessions, I do those online. All you need to do is you just need to inbox me, either the Seba Amosu or Mind Over Body Chess Academy. I check both, and we will take it from there. in terms of as I normally do them in blocks of four sessions. So I will go through how the game is played, and there's a chess site that we use where we will play. But normally the chess tournaments will be face to face, because that's very important for the interaction of the young people. So that will be starting in June. So in a couple of weeks, the dates, if you look on Seba Amosu, that page, you'll see the dates of the classes, and all the information will be there. And then all you need to do is just inbox me, and we will take it from there.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That's fantastic. So look, you've heard it here. Make sure that you go onto his page. This is Seba Amosu, and you've got also the other page here, which is Mind Over Body Chess Academy. He's on Facebook as well, right? So
yes,
if you're Facebook, yeah. So I just really want to thank you so much. I really do. I appreciate that you reached out, but I also appreciate this conversation. It's very enriching for me as well, and I'm excited about the possibility of getting back into chess, actually. If I wasn't before, I kind of thought I might, but now I know.
Well, I do want to put something out there before you go. The event that I was talking about that has the intergenerational people together.
Yes,
I think you should come.
Oh, lovely! Is that an invitation? Oh, good.
That's an invitation. You should come and play the children.
Oh,
there can be a number of different.
I better get some practice in. I better get my children to train me.
That will be like October, November time. So yeah,
I've got time. I've got time to brush up on my
I'm just putting that out there. It's open for you.
Well, okay, definitely. Holler back at me. Definitely close to that time for sure. I think I know. And it'd be coming up to those ages anyway. Be coming up to the age, so it'd be great for him to come and see. And to be fair, it's him who got started himself when he was in primary school, and it kind of like, they did a little chess club, and I thought, and then he started teaching me. So I was like, okay, reteaching me, so I'm a person, I'm open to being a student to my children, where it's necessary, of course. And so it's like, it's like then we started teaching the smaller one, and we started looking at the little moves, and so it was so for me, I'd have to beat my other one actually. But it's cool. I mean, I'm a person, I'm all about, I'm a person, I love athletics, I love sport, but I also am all about healthy competition and championing each other. So I'm happy to learn, and I'm happy to observe as well. So yeah, do contact me again regarding that, please. But yes, thank you so much. I will put you backstage now, and then we can chop it up a little bit after. So just hold on for me there while I complete. All right. But thank you so much, and I'll speak to you soon. All right. Thank you. Good, thanks. Wow, that was lovely. That was fantastic. I hope I don't know who was trying to come in earlier, but if you were trying to come in, that's the rules are that you have to show your face and you have to put your mic on. Otherwise, I can't see you. What it says is, someone's trying to be added, but I can't do anything about that. Yeah. And but I really want to thank you very much for this evening. It's been really enriching. And if you haven't got into chess, or you're kind of on the fence about chess, I hope that this has been a bit of a decider for you. I hope this has been like, actually, there's definitely an opening for this brother to be involved in other areas and other organizations as well. So, make links over there with him, so that he can bring that to other young people, because that's the kind of thing our young people need, especially during these times. So I really, really want to thank him for coming on, and thank you all who were in the comments and in the chat. Thank you so much for that, and I will be back in May with some exciting shows and some exciting things to tell you around that. But for now, I just want to say give thanks. Thank you for the conversation, and remember, at all times, if you can, and don't look. I just, before I complete, I do want to say, share it. Don't hesitate to share it. Don't hesitate to like it once you've seen it as well. Yes, algorithms and algorithms, but it makes a difference, because I can, there's a difference when people get this information and they've heard about it, and we also hear about it when somebody says who hadn't been part of the subscription before, or heard about Got Kush. So it matters, and sometimes we just take it for granted. A lot of us do take it for granted that we come from this community, and we think, well, we kind of don't have to share it anymore because we know the thing. Yeah, but as I say, please share. Yeah, and I think this is really important, and all the other shows have been important. So if you haven't seen last week's show and the show before that and the show before that, go back, check them out, look at where your interests are, because who knows, by December we could be back in another situation with these people. Yes, so we have to prepare ourselves. All right, prepare our minds, prepare our bodies, prepare our souls and our spirit. Yeah, so with that I give thanks. So until next time, if you ain't got nothing, you ain't got kush.